All right, what's going on, guys? This is Rob, and we are back with the Banner of War. Yeah, there we go. I was getting ready to say like the Banner of Hulk. So this is part two. The next issue comes out in a week, I believe, May 25th. So it looks like it is a weekly series, which is pretty awesome. What we end up doing here is picking up with really not just the Avengers, kind of everybody, right? The Avengers and the Fantastic Four, because the Incredible Hulk sort of going off the radar, not even off the radar, like going off the rails and just doing his own thing is always a cause for concern. And in general, everybody really wants to know what's going on with him, especially because it's basically Banner controlling the Incredible Hulk. Now, of course, they end up locating his location or end up finding his location. And the way in which they do it's one of the weirdest things, because what ends up happening is Iron Man basically tells Reed Richards, because he essentially reveals that the place in which they're in is essentially an arena, right, where Thor and Hulk are basically fighting, and that it's basically just the black hand of a celestial that was quite literally retrofitted into a gladiatorial arena itself. And where Reed's kind of like, I mean, that's, you know, and really tries to finish a statement, the response of Iron Man is, that's awesome. Now, of course, Reed asks the question, how in the world did you do this? Now, here's the cool thing, is that Iron Man says that he has a network of deep space satellites slave to his internal mainframe. They constantly sweep for activity in places explored or not, and that yesterday he picked up a sound, which from Reed's perspective shouldn't be possible. And so in response, like Iron Man basically says, yeah, like a sound, right, in space, something so loud that its vibrational frequency completely fried one of Iron Man's space satellites. And he says from there, he triangulated the source of the sonic disturbance and then isolated it. And he says, you know what it was? It was a voice. It was basically a voice so loud that it blew a satellite out of the sky from 2,000 miles away, and it said, Hulk smash. And so Reed is kind of flabbergasted here, right? Because this is not something that Iron Man normally does. One thing to know, and I love the way that Donny Cates does this, one thing to know, when it comes to intelligence levels, Reed Richards is smarter than Tony Stark. That's not really a debatable thing, right? It's not one of those things where it's like, I mean, they changed positions. No, like Reed's at the very top. And that's literally what he says. He's like, well, that's impressive, Tony, right? I had, no disrespect intended here, but I had no idea that those kinds of resources, or at least that you had those kinds of resources, or quite frankly, the scientific know-how to sweep the depths of unknown space like that. And then the response of Iron Man is, no, I'm messing around, Reed. I don't have the ability to do that, right? Like, I have no idea how to do any of that stuff. Thor's Ravens told me where Hulk was. And literally, Thor's Ravens are just hanging out with Spider-Man, and he's like, what's up? So I absolutely love that. I love that whole, it's one of the reasons why I love Donny Cates' writing so much. Now, here's the thing about this. While Tony Stark doesn't really have the ability or the intelligence level to create satellites that orbit Earth and essentially sweep deep space, he does have the intelligence to build satellites and put them in different parts of space. And in fact, his intelligence in relation to spacefaring escapades, that was really put on full display when he joined the Guardians of the Galaxy. That was really, really cool. But in response, of course, Captain America kind of steps up and says, look, if Thor's already engaged with Banner, then we basically just have to stay here until we have more intel. At the very least, one, they're fighting in a gladiatorial ring, which Captain America, again, really is able to pick up on the situation and just be like, they're literally in the best place to fight, right? Like a place designed for fighting. We're not really gonna have to worry about innocence. And if we do, well, I mean, they're hanging out in a gladiatorial arena, right? You pay your money and take your chances. And sometimes when you're in the audience of a gladiatorial fight, you might lose your life. Just kind of goes with the territory, so it's that kind of a thing, right? Now, the funny thing about this is that the response of Iron Man is, no, I'm gonna go fight him. Now, there's a reason why Tony Stark does this. There's a reason why. Of course, Iron Man's response is like, no, like you're not going. Of course, it's kind of a bickering back and forth between the two. It's like, no, I'm absolutely doing that. And of course, he starts firing up his thrusters. But what Tony Stark says is he's like, when Banner initially broke through the defenses that I had and he went through that portal, I looked into his eyes, man, and that's a guy that tried to kill me. Right? Like legitimately tried to kill me. Now, one part of this is Tony Stark just pissed off that the Incredible Hulk tried to kill him. But another part is a straight up recognition of the situation and just being like, this is the Incredible Hulk at his most dangerous, not his strongest, but at his most dangerous. This guy had a desire to take me out. And there was as far as I could tell, looking in that dude's eyes, he has no reservation about killing the rest of us. So I'm gonna go deal with this guy. Now, of course, as he's talking, Captain America's like, are you even here? And the response of Iron Man's like, I'm never at these meetings, Captain. Like, I've got places to be. He's literally piloting the thing remote and then just takes off in this giant suit of armor, which we'll talk about here in a second. But at that point, you switch back over to the fight between Thor and Hulk. And if you guys recall from the last video that we had an instant where essentially Thor Thor had thrown the hammer Mjolnir, which is essentially inhabited by the spirit of Odin, directly at the Hulk, and when the two made contact, it allowed Odin's spirit to jump from the hammer into Banner's mind. And so now you have basically the spirit of Odin facing off against the mind of Banner. Now the cool thing about this is, on the surface, you might look at that and just be like, Odin versus Banner, right? Like, obviously Odin would win here, but there's this amazing moment where Odin is just like, look man, like, I'm way beyond you, Bruce Banner. You have no chance of defeating me here, so stand down. And the response of Banner is, no, you're not a man, Odin. Like, you're a ghost. You're not real, and you're in my head. And in my head, I am God here. And of course, immediately ensnares Odin. And then as soon as that happens, of course, he basically initiates automatic defenses, which essentially allows the Incredible Hulk body to just fight on its own, while the Incredible Hulk serves as, again, kind of the engine for all the strength and everything, and Banner's mind just kind of controls everything, right? So it quite literally is the Incredible Hulk body operating on autopilot. Now, the thing about this is that, of course, as you have Banner and you have Odin, confronting one another, that Thor finally has enough and then just headbutts the hell out of the Incredible Hulk. And when that happens, it basically shakes and jogs, or at least jars, the mind of Banner and sends him back to El Paso, right? Recalling that memory, of course, where Odin's basically there and he's a bartender, just kind of watching everything unfold. Now, here's the kicker to this. We never found out what happened in El Paso. All we knew is that some event transpired in El Paso, Texas, and Banner basically restructured or redesigned the Incredible Hulk in such a way to where the Incredible Hulk persona would just fight an endless onslaught of enemies in the form of a simulation and wouldn't really know it was a simulation per se. And then in turn, Banner would just control the mind of the Incredible Hulk, and the Incredible Hulk body would stay the Incredible Hulk body, and then they would just leave and go do their thing, right? Presumably go into wherever or confront whatever the case happened to be. But we didn't know exactly how we got to that point. All we knew is that something happened where things popped off. And so what ended up going on here is that in the aftermath of Al Ewing's Immortal Hulk run, quite literally when Bruce Banner and the Incredible Hulk, or really Immortal Hulk, had defeated the One Below All, essentially the answer to the question, what happens when the One Above All hulks out, this led to them just kind of going forward and doing their thing. And they were, by all standards of measurement, effectively a team, right? Like, they were just kind of working in unison. It was as close as you get to a happy ending for Banner and the Incredible Hulk. And what ended up happening is that there came a point when they arrived in El Paso, and that there was a kind of, not really a skirmish of sorts, but just one where Banner had just kind of knocked over, or I'm sorry, a guy had knocked over Banner's drink, and the guy was like apologetic, said, hey, look, man, and then Banner just, almost flew off the handle and started to freak out. But of course, things seemed to calm down relatively fast. What ended up happening here is, while Banner's not entirely sure how it took place, in effect, the Incredible Hulk's rage, if you can call it that, almost became this kind of viral thing and literally spread to everybody in this bar in El Paso, right? 17 people. And they all just started going nuts, right? Just becoming like these extreme Hulk personas and just referring to Banner as like puny Banner. So almost as though the Incredible Hulk itself spread out as a contagion, and then in turn, everything started going sideways, right? The Incredible Hulk's coronavirus. So the thing about this is that in that moment, when things began to go nuts, that what happened is suddenly Banner was yanked out of control. That in effect, his personality was shunted off to the background and another personality took hold. That in effect, all Banner could see is blackness. He had no idea what was going on. And whatever this personality was that seized control killed everybody in El Paso, like literally destroyed them all. I mean, ripping arms off, right? Just an absolute bloodbath, right? An absolute massacre. Now, given what we've seen so far, we can largely assume this personality is the mental manifestation of the Titan Hulk, whereas we did see the physical manifestation in the last story arc that we did, right? So in the Smastronaut story. So that's most likely what's going on here. Again, we don't necessarily have a definitive answer, but what ended up going on is that Banner came to this realization that if the Incredible Hulk, by whatever manner and whatever means, whether it's a result of coming into contact with the One Below All or something that he doesn't fully understand yet, that if the Incredible Hulk's, if his rage is so extreme that it can actually spread out to the people around him, then why simply just not use it, right? It was an idea that had occurred to him based on all their experiences together, that over the course of Banner's life, it was one of these things where he had always tried to work with the Incredible Hulk, that he had tried to utilize his capabilities, or even the two of them would like merge personalities with the Grey Hulk and become like Professor Hulk, different things along along those lines. But there's always been this thing where like Banner's kind of been trying to work with the Hulk. His mind suddenly shifted and said, why not just use the Hulk? Why not just use his rage, right? If really like situations like this in El Paso are essentially a result of what happens when the Incredible Hulk has all this rage but can't do anything with it, assuming that's actually what's going on, then why not put it to good use and effectively just become a kind of savior of sorts? And so that's basically what he did. That's why he engineered the Hulk the way that he did, which was a genius idea. The problem is there really isn't a whole lot of time to go on here. That initially Thor was just going to kind of continue on and let them do their thing. But what Thor ends up doing is basically summoning the hammer back, which of course brings the Odin persona back with it, or the Odin spirit back with it, and yanks it out of the mind of Banner. And where Odin gets pissed off and is like, why did you pull me out? Like, we were so close. I had the ability to talk this guy down. The response of Thor is, because we've got bigger problems, right? Like, we do not have any more time. And when the question is like, why? Like, why have we ran out of time here? He's just like, here's the thing. There's a huge threat that arrived. Now, the other part of this, and this is a really cool concept, the other part of this is that the Incredible Hulk persona is now the dominant persona controlling its own body. The problem here is the Incredible Hulk persona does not know this is not a simulation. The Incredible Hulk thinks this is a simulation. That's one of the things to know, because the way those simulations work that allow the Incredible Hulk to just fight an endless wave of enemies, which basically allow Banner to amp up the Incredible Hulk's strength or bring the Incredible Hulk's strength down, really takes place in a variety of circumstances, and the environment changes all the time. And so if your environment shifted from one moment to the next, everything from just extreme situations to basically docile or more toned down situations, and then suddenly you were thrust into the real world, you wouldn't be able to differentiate between the two. You wouldn't know what's real and what's not real. And so that's exactly where the Incredible Hulk is. He doesn't know that it's not a simulation. And so it's kind of a crazy thing, because in that moment, it basically highlights this idea. The Incredible Hulk could go on a tear, believing all of it's not real, that there's no real concern here or anything like that. Now, of course, the major threat that they're contending with, which is pretty awesome, is basically Iron Man's celestial Hulkbuster armor. And this thing is enormous. I mean, it's absolutely huge. Although if you're gonna have a suit of armor that's designed to basically destroy what could potentially be a celestially powered Hulk, especially when you're talking about Titan Hulk, you're probably gonna need something this huge. What it can do though, we don't know. We'll have to find out for the video from next week. With that being said, guys, we're gonna bring this to an end. Thank you all for watching, and I will catch you all later. Peace.